So, you know, it's your girl, 𝗚𝗏, and I'm always here on Tuesday and Thursday to bring that good energy and that good vibe to Good Morning Tobago. I want to thank my co-host, Candice Jackson, and say good morning to her. I hope that she's enjoying her morning this morning. And this morning is going to be extremely interesting. Although we have already gone beneath the surface, we still have one of our representatives, Assemblyman Dr. Fኣይt B. Israel, here this morning. And she's going to be talking ex gratia. Now, there's been a lot of misconception in the space, a lot of misinformation, and even some disinformation out there regarding this ex gratia payment. And, you know, finding out the difference between the ex gratia from the central government and the THA ex gratia that was promised during the campaign trail. So this morning, we're going to delve deep into that conversation. And without further ado, a woman that needs no long introduction, Dr. Fኣይt B. Israel, good morning and welcome to Good Morning Tobago.
Good morning and thank you so much for having me. And yes, I do think it's important for us to have this conversation. As you know, we've been saying at the last, when all the secretaries came on, that we needed to spend a little bit more time communicating and ensuring that the correct information is out there. And that's why I'm here this morning.
Well, thank you for doing that. And thank you for choosing Tobago Updates to do so. First of all, let me just say I'm loving the purple. I don't know if, you know, we got the memo, but the coordination, it's working on set this morning.
It is. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's some good energy there this morning. So I look forward to a really fruitful discussion with you.
Certainly.
So before we, you know, delve deep into this conversation, you made it clear that you guys are moving into the direction of having that adequate communication with the public. And as I said in the introduction, there has been a lot of misconception about this ex gratia. People want to know, are they going to receive it? And if so, what is the difference between what you guys have promised and that of the central government? So can you help us understand?
Certainly. So in Tobago, we actually are talking about two different kinds of ex gratia payments. To be honest, full disclosure, I kind of don't like that word anymore, that term, but it is what it is. So we have the ex gratia payments to the THA workers, which is what was promised during the campaign period. At the last sitting, the Chief Secretary and Secretary for Finance outlined the number of workers in each division, and based on the number of workers, we are now pooling the money to then give all of these workers within the Tobago House of Assembly an ex gratia payment. But you are quite right. That is very different from the payment that the Minister of Health spoke about at the budget presentation a couple months ago, where he spoke about the government of Trinidad and Tobago giving the COVID-19 related health workers an ex gratia payment. And that is what I wanted to spend a little bit of time this morning explaining the process for that and where we are, because believe me, I get at least 10 messages and phone calls every day from TRHA specific workers, different categories of workers, asking, are we really getting it? Am I getting it? Is this just for doctors and nurses? I am just a cleaner. Am I going to get it too? So I just wanted to spend a little bit of time this morning going through exactly what is the situation with that and explaining that.
Please do. Go ahead.
Certainly. So before the budget was read, I must admit that even though we stand on two different sides of the political divide, the Minister for Health and I actually have a very good working relationship. So even before the budget presentation was made, he called me and he said, Dr. Fayth, this is what the government is planning to do. By the way, it's top secret, so please don't speak about it publicly, and I didn't. We do want to give the nation's healthcare workers a little bonus because of what they did during the COVID period. Please send to me your numbers in terms of how much money it would take to pay your healthcare workers in Tobago some money for the work they've done over that period. I sent that figure to him, broke it down, we sent it to him, and that was actually included. So when he spoke about that in the budget presentation, it did include the Tobago Regional Health Authority. It certainly did. What happened since then is the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago actually went to their cabinet meeting and they created a cabinet note that spoke to who gets it, what's the time period, and so forth. So I am going to paraphrase, because you know these documents tend to be a little bit long. So I'm going to paraphrase. So really, it is a bonus to healthcare workers. in Trinidad and Tobago, to the 4 RHAs in Trinidad, and to the Tobago Regional Health Authority. But there are certain conditions, and this is what I want to take a little bit of time to explain. The conditions relate to people who worked in the health sector, all people. So whether you're a doctor, nurse, a wards maid, a cleaner, whatever, a groundsman, whatever it is, wherever you worked, whether you worked in the kitchen, whether, wherever you worked within that period, you would be eligible. The period that we're talking about, though, is from March 11th, 2020 to May 31st, 2022. So March 11th, 2020 to May 31st, 2022. That is the period that they are looking at. And now, there are now conditions. If you worked for a year and 1 day, because that is scanning over almost a 2-year period there.
Yeah.
If you worked for a year and more during that period, you would get the equivalent of 1 month's salary if you are a monthly paid worker, or 2 fortnights worth of salary if you are a daily paid worker. So again, if you worked for a year or more during that period, you get the equivalent of, in essence, 1 month's salary. If you worked for 6 months to a year, you get the equivalent of 50% of your salary. And if you worked for less than 6 months, you get 25% of your salary during that period. So I just wanted that to be clear. That is how the calculations are done. So you may find somebody who is there, who works alongside you for a period. You get your full salary, but they only get half of their salary because they did not work for the entire period. So I wanted to make that very clear. Even if you are no longer working in that area, we are looking at the position you were in at that time when you were working.
And the salary that's equivalent to that role.
So there are some people who actually got promoted during that time, and that is the salary that we are looking at. They may have gone back to their substantive position since, but we are giving them based on the salary they had for the position that they had during that, let me make sure I have it, March 11, 2020 to May 31st, 2022. That is the period. The only time, if you worked in that period, where you will not be eligible to get this ex gratia payment is if we had to fire you for cause. You behave so bad, something so radical happened that the organization had to fire you, then you will not be given that ex gratia payment. But it seems that everybody else will be.
And what about the individuals that worked during that time but no longer work in the healthcare system right now?
So even if you worked at that time but you no longer work in the healthcare system right now, you will still get it because it relates to those who worked during that period.
So people don't have to feel like they missed out or they left too early. So once they did serve that time, there. So tell us again about the levels of workers that are benefiting from this ex gratia payment.
This is everybody who worked during, so all of the TRHA workers, even members from the Office of the County Medical Officer of Health, because in Tobago, our arrangement was a little different, where the CMOH and her staff, the people when you called on the phone, they were doing the contact tracing and so forth. Those individuals were not working with the TRHA specifically. So those individuals are also included in this because of how our working happened within the Tobago space, which may be different to some regions in Trinidad.
Okay, what about those data entry clerks and cleaners?
As long as you worked within the healthcare system during
all those
that
persons
period,
who work at the canteen, at the hospital.
All of them.
Everyone.
Now, the good thing is that I asked for an update on where we are, and the TRHA is actually ready. They have been ready because there was actually a meeting with the minister and the CEOs and accounting people of the RHAs a couple of weeks ago, where all of this was explained and it was outlined as in what is the process. Our TRHA people have already done their due diligence in terms of identifying who worked for the year, who worked for half of the year and all of that. And they have already, way back when actually, written to us saying this is how much the TRHA needs now that we've done all of these calculations and that kind of thing.
Excellent. Guys, remember we are live on Facebook as well as M&E TV. So this gives you the opportunity to like, share, and comment. But this morning, if you have any questions or any clarification that you think is needed from Dr. F쏘ɪᴛ B.Yɪsʀᴇ, remember to just put it in our comments on Facebook and we will address it. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the exact process that we're going to go through to get that money. So guys, stay with us and we will be back really soon. See you soon.
The Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection is moving to better serve you. Turn left onto Glen Road. Another left onto Montessori Drive. Welcome to the new location of the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection.
Full disclosure with the executive every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Updates. Real questions and honest conversations with the sole aim of keeping you fully in the know. Full disclosure with the executive every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on Tobago Updates.
Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. I know that somebody on this live or somebody watching right now works at the TRHA or knows somebody that works at the TRHA. So be sure to tell them to log in and listen because Dr. F쏘ɪᴛ B.Yɪsʀᴇ is on and she's talking ex gratia. Post-Christmas or before Christmas, we would find out. I've seen you guys asking your question in the comments, and again, thank you. Remember to share, like, and let your people know that we are on. And any questions that they have, we would be willing to answer. And as we talk about questions in the comments, we have people asking when can they expect to receive this payment?
So the answer, I am one of those people who have learned over the last year of my OJT term as a Secretary for Health is to not give hard and fast dates for things because things happen in a way that we can't control sometimes. So let me explain the process, and then I would I would define why I don't want to give a specific time. I hope soon it should have happened already. Let's put it that way. Like yesterday. So the process is, let me just say one thing before I forget though. When we say the payment is equivalent to 1 month, we mean 1 month of the basic salary. We don't mean 1 month of the basic salary plus the allowances and those things. So if you get a traveling allowance or a telephone allowance or whatever, we are not talking about the allowances. It's your basic salary. So that's important to note as well. So let me talk about the process. Because we are in the Tobago space, there are additional steps that we needed to take to get from them making the announcement to us actually having the money in Tobago. That included my administrator in the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection writing to the administrator in the Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy saying, hey, we need this money. We are applying to you for this money. The minister of the administrator of finance would then send that information to the Ministry of Finance in Trinidad saying, hey, we need that money. The Ministry of Finance then sends back the money to the to the Division of Finance. The Division of Finance sends the money to the Division of Health. Wow. And then the Division of Health sends the money to the TRHA. Okay. So you realize it's a kind of...
And then the TRHA sends it to
And then the TRHA sends it to their workers.
Okay. And I guess that talks to the system and the processes of how we, are able to get those payments from Trinidad, because I would think if the minister makes an announcement like that, that the entire Tobago is going to benefit from that, they would just send the money, right?
Yeah, I mean, so they're sending the money, but it has to go through... it has to go through the scenic route, as they say, to get from there. So we ask, Health asks Finance. Finance then says to Finance in Trinidad, can we have it? Finance in Trinidad sends back the money to Finance in Tobago. Finance in Tobago sends it to Health. Then Health sends it to the TRHA. And that is why we are at the point now where some of the RHAs in Trinidad have already gotten their money, and we have not gotten ours to that final step just yet, where we would say to the workers, here, it is in your bank account.
Okay, and we have persons asking, is this base salary going to be taxed?
So that is actually something that needs to be clarified, because we are seeing where in some RHAs it seems to not be taxed, in some RHA it seems to be taxed. So that is actually something that I need to clarify with the minister and as to what is the situation with that, because we thought it would not have been taxed before, but we are now seeing that it is going to be taxed in some places. I want to make sure.
Okay, so can we look forward to maybe getting a response update on that? How can we get that update?
I'll send it. We could send it out as a press release or something.
A press release, okay, that's excellent. Maybe
but I
see
would
it on your social media pages.
Yes, I certainly would not want to give information that is not accurate in this time.
And so that process includes a timeline, and I know you said you don't want to give hard and fast dates, but can we see persons being able to enjoy that money before Christmas? After?
I was hoping that all of this would have been done already, and I'm looking at my phone now because I'm actually pulling up my calendar. I spent yesterday, and this is, us really identifying some of the areas that we have no control over, but we have to do what we have to do. When I realized that last week, RHAs in Trinidad getting their money already and all kind of thing, I started to say, well, I understand the process. I understand it takes a little bit longer in Tobago, I don't want to jump very quickly to, them in Trinidad treating me in Tobago bad or anything. I didn't want to go there yet because I know how the process is. So when yesterday came now and I'm saying, okay, something is wrong here. What is happening? I started doing a kind of micromanaging that I don't like to do. So I then started asking each of the various individuals, did you do what you are supposed to do in this process? And show me proof that you did what you are supposed to do. So to my administrator, Madam Admin, did you send a letter to finance telling them we want money? Yes, Secretary, that was done since Friday, I think the 1st or the 2nd of the month. Yes, yes, Secretary. Okay. Admin in finance, did you get that? Yes, we got it. Admin in finance, did you send it off to finance in Trinidad saying, yes, I gave that instruction since Monday the 5th or so? Okay. Finance in Trinidad, what going on? What is the situation now? And that is the point where we realized yesterday that even though the instruction was given since last week, Monday, to send it off, that somebody in Tobago did not do that until yesterday.
Oh, wow. And so does that raise the need for you at your office to probably have your staff consistently following up on things just to ensure that, you're not in a position where you come to us and we are asking you questions that you cannot answer, or even things that you would have thought was done, or payments that you thought were made, but yet, you see on social media a number of persons coming out saying they haven't gotten the payment and they haven't received that.
But it goes back to a larger issue of inefficiency within the public system. Now, I do not know whether that file was just sitting on somebody's desk willfully, just sitting there, or whether that file, because it's a paper file, is in a list of paper files and it just took them a week to get to that. We don't know, but it is actually one of our biggest issues that we've discovered coming into office for the year, that things simply do not move as quickly as we need them to. And part of the process is that we have all of these literal files in paper walking around, and unless somebody physically is able to track it, we don't know where the file is and where it's going and what needs to happen with it, and that kind of being able to pull up. Imagine, it actually took me quite a while yesterday to have to call different people to find out, did you do what you said you were supposed to do? Show me the proof that you did it, with the letter, with the email kind of story. And then to realize it was only after doing all of those checks that we got down to the point where, wow, this thing was really only sent yesterday. And because it was only sent yesterday, I cannot promise as to when the money will actually get to Tobago. What I can say, though, is that the background work has already been done. The TRHA has already identified all of the people who need to be paid, how much they need to be paid, blah, blah, blah. And they are just literally waiting for us to say to the TRHA, here is the money, you do your processing.
And that should bring some level of comfort to the TRHA workers that you will be getting that money. That's the guarantee. The guarantee is that you will be getting that money. Another question is, what can you tell us about the ex gratia payment that is supposed to be paid out by the THA, and who is supposed to receive that one?
So the ex gratia payment by the THA is going to be all THA workers. So as long as you work within the Tobago House of Assembly, you will be getting that ex gratia payment. Again, it goes back to us identifying. You have no idea, Chanel, how much work it actually took to get the actual numbers of workers in the THA from each division. You would think that that is something that
HR
you could
database.
get on an HR. No. It is not something that is easily pulled up on an HR database, because I discovered, for example, last week, that even though most of the salaries in my division are processed via our electronic system, so I could just call the IT manager and say, hey, the ACH payment, there are still quite a number of people who are paid manually. So you get one figure from the ACH system, and then when you speak to HR, you get another figure. And then when you speak to accounts, they give you a different figure. And I'm like, okay, seriously, this just not making sense. We need to get to the point
to be able to track our employees.
Everyone is on the system. We know everyone is an individual person because we have a unique identifier for each person, and that we can track them accurately like that.
But that unique identifier should also be incorporated into those badges, not so, because we see workers walking around with badges. But if your badge doesn't have your ID number, let's say just like our national ID has an ID number on it, what is really the point of the badge if it's not just to enter buildings and get out?
I know what you are talking about is actually a discussion that I had very recently with the Minister of Digital Transformation, where nationally we are trying to determine what will be that unique identifier for individuals nationally. If we use, for example, the national ID card, then that works if you are a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. But we have a system where non-citizens are here, non-citizens are working, non-citizens are living here legally. They will not have national ID cards. So at the Ministry of Digital Transformation, they are also now working through what that identifier could be, because it would be the same unique identifier, for example, that we use if you come into the hospital and we need to pull up your medical records. It will be the same kind of
thing if you go to immigration and you... Well, you know, Dr. Faith, I would have lived in the Netherlands for the last 3 years, and one of the things that we would have benefited from was a digital ID. Right, and it works for school, it works for everything. You have a digital ID. If you owe somebody money, they pull up your digital ID and they see all your debts, everything, right? People are also wary that, you know, there are some data concerns and stuff like that. But I really think that that is the direction that we need to move into to mitigate against issues where THA workers are not accounted for. That is really crazy and unheard of. But these are things when we talk about technological advancement and digitalization that we want to see the administration move towards investing in stuff like that.
And we are pushing in that direction. The thing that we need to be conscious of, though, is that Trinidad and Tobago has some of the most archaic laws. We have laws that says that unless a document has an actual written signature, hard copy signature, it cannot necessarily be seen as accurate or real or proof of. So that is where we need some of the changes as well within the legislation that would allow an electronic signature so that we can send electronic information and that kind of thing. And so we are behind the wheel when it comes to that, but I think we are in a good place now because we are not necessarily learning from scratch. There are other places that have very good systems that we are learning from. And I must give kudos to the Minister of Digital Transformation. Coincidentally, is a Tobagonian, so maybe that is why, you know, we have such a good working relationship as well, that they really are working through some of these very nitty-gritty, identifying all of the legislation that needs to be amended or needs to be changed or that kind of thing that would make this process easier. So hopefully as we work together, we would be able to do that in the Tobago space, but nationally as well.
Definitely. And is it that Tobago or this current THA administration is looking to do something unique for Tobago that also falls under the new legislation that they are creating, or are we going to go with what is created through the Ministry of Digital Transformation?
So the discussion that we've been having really is to use Tobago as the test case. use Tobago as a pilot for a lot of these things because we are smaller. We are defined by geography and by population and everything. We have a central system, as in the Tobago House of Assembly, that we can use. So the idea really is to use Tobago as the test case for a lot of these things, just because it's easier to do it that way. So we may actually benefit even before some of our partners in Trinidad.
Oh, well, and I mean, I find that a lot of the times we are trying to reinvent the wheel or trying to become geniuses in our own right to think up of these things when, as I said before, there are societies where the technology already exists. So are there any plans on partnering with countries such as the Netherlands that have done this successfully and continue to do it successfully, to maybe use the same type of technology here in Tobago?
Certainly, and yes, that is happening. It's a learning from places where it works and looking at the best practice in various places that is currently happening. Even in the division, even as it relates to health, I actually had a team of IT specialists from Tobago go to Trinidad to look at a medical information system that is currently being used in Trinidad. Right. Because if it works there and it fits our needs, why not just grab a hold of it and use it? So yes, we are not starting from scratch. We are learning from the experiences of other people, and that is where we are at this point.
Excellent. And Dr. Faith, I know you don't want to give us any hard and fast timelines, and before you go, can you let us know possibly when we could expect that THA 𝗓𝗏?
Listen, I am hoping that it comes as it's now the 13th of December. I am hoping before Christmas. If it doesn't happen before Christmas, we know that January is usually the hardest and longest month of the year. So it might be a blessing to not get it before Christmas so that you can spend it out and you actually have some money in your hand January morning. But honestly, I really don't want to give any more definitive timelines than that because there are so many moving parts.
Thank you so much. But before you go, Dr. Faith, is there anything that you want to share with members of the TRHA or just Tobago on a whole?
Certainly to the TRHA and particularly to those workers who've been there during what is probably the most difficult period that we have in over the last 2 or 3 years. I again want to say thank you so much for the hard work that you have done. Thank you so much for all of the effort you've put in. I am working to ensure that you get your due justice, and we will continue doing what we have to do. To the Tobago public generally, it has been a pretty difficult year for most of us coming out of COVID, having had all of the issues with our employment and that kind of thing. All of the rains that were just falling over the last couple of weeks, it has really been a pretty difficult time. But I'm encouraging people to, enjoy the Christmas period, enjoy the festivities. Don't enjoy too much because you don't want to jump up with diabetes or any of those things January morning. Don't overdo it. But definitely enjoy this period and work with us as we go into 2023.
Again, thank you so much for joining us here in Good Morning Tobago, Dr. Faith, and we look forward to having you back again soon whenever you have more information to share with the Tobago public. Guys, stay tuned because when we return, we will be talking to Mr. Max James and hearing his insights and his ideas about crossing the floor. So stay with us. We'll be back after the break.
The Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection is moving to better serve you. Turn left onto Glen Road. Another left onto Montessori Drive. Welcome to the new location of the Division of Health, Wellness and Social Protection.